Why does your brain remember one embarrassing moment from 5 years ago, but forgets what you ate yesterday? The answer is not weakness, it is survival. You did something embarrassing 5 years ago. Nobody remembers it. The person it happened in front of has probably forgotten your name. And yet, at 2 a.m. on a random Tuesday, your brain plays it back in perfect detail, complete with the exact feeling in your chest you had when it happened. Why won't it just let it go? The answer has nothing to do with weakness, oversensitivity, or a lack of self-confidence. It has everything to do with a survival system your brain built long before embarrassment was even a social concept. For most of human history, your reputation was not just something that felt important. It was survival critical. Anthropologist Robin Dunbar's research on early human social groups shows that humans lived in tight bands of roughly 100 to 150 people, and in those groups, how others perceived you determined almost everything. Access to food, mates, protection, alliances, all of it flowed through your standing in the group. A single public failure, a mistake that made you look incompetent, unreliable, or untrustworthy, could permanently alter how the people around you treated you. So your brain did what it always does when something genuinely matters for survival. It remembered it. Psychologist Martin Seligman, whose research on learned helplessness reshaped how we understand human motivation, identified a broader pattern in how the brain handles negative experiences. Bad events tend to stick harder and longer than good ones. This phenomenon, which researchers call negativity bias, means your brain is not malfunctioning when it replays your worst moments. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Negative information was historically more useful for survival than positive information. Knowing what went wrong and burning it into memory so you would not repeat it was more valuable than savoring what went right. The problem is that the same system now runs on embarrassments from a school presentation in 2019. Here is where it gets more specific. Neuroscientist Joseph LeDoux spent much of his career mapping how the brain stores emotional memories, and his research found that the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, plays a central role in locking emotional experiences into long-term memory. The stronger the emotion attached to an event, the more deeply it gets encoded. Fear, shame, and humiliation are particularly powerful triggers, because for most of human history, those emotions existed specifically to flag socially dangerous situations. Your brain does not distinguish between "I said something stupid in front of my whole class" and "I made a mistake that could get me exiled from my group." To the amygdala, both events carry the same basic signal: your social standing was threatened. And social standing, for most of human history, was not something you could afford to lose carelessly. So the memory gets stored with extra weight, and then your brain, being the pattern recognition machine it is, occasionally pulls it back out and replays it. Not to torture you, but because it is still checking, still running the scenario, still asking, how do we make sure this does not happen again? The cruel irony is that this process tends to activate at night, when external stimulation drops and the brain shifts into a more inward consolidating mode. The quiet of 2 a.m. is exactly when your brain has the space to surface these filed-away social threat memories and run them again. None of this means you are stuck with it. Psychologist Rick Hanson, building on decades of neuroplasticity research, has argued that the brain's negativity bias is real but not fixed. Because the brain changes in response to experience, deliberately dwelling on positive social experiences, really sitting with them rather than letting them pass, can, over time, begin to rebalance how the brain weighs good and bad. It does not undo the embarrassing memory, but it starts to give it company. The brain that replays your worst moments at 2 a.m. is not your enemy. It is a very old, very loyal system that still believes your social reputation could mean the difference between surviving and not. It just hasn't been told yet that the stakes changed.